day in July 2025. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on yet another edition of State of the State on this channel. I am Sunday Kolawole. Today, we'll be taking a close look at two critical issues. First, it will be local government administration in Nigeria, issues and challenges. And thereafter, we'll be looking at the life and times of former President Muhammadu Buhari, by yet another expert. Now, the first gentleman to have the conversation with me on local government administration in Nigeria, issues and challenges, is a former Norge president and retired permanent secretary in Ondo State. Dr. Tunde Malay joins me right in the studio for this conversation. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
It's been a very long time.
Well, it's life after retirement.
Life after retirement.
Yes. So it has been a long time, really, but I thank God that I'm here.
You've been in government, so to say, since the return of Nigeria to democracy, the different administration, Agagu administration, Mimiko administration, of course, the Akeredolu administration. Now you retired. Now we have Adedoju administration, and of course, successor administration in Nigeria at the federal level. Also, you've seen a whole lot. Talking about local government administration, are we better off than what we were in 1999 to 2003, and compare that to now?
Thank you. It's a lot of period that you are trying to compact together. What I would say was that when Ade Farati was governor of this state, that was the area, that was the time, coincidentally, that was the time I was president of Norge. And what happened at that time was that we were earning what we call zero allocation. How is this zero? They made the primary school teachers first charge. The moment they remove primary school teachers from the total salary, from the total emolument of local governments, majority of the local governments, especially the 6 urban ones, I'm talking of Akure South, Owo, Akoko Northeast, Ondo West, Odigbo, and Okutukupa. Those local governments will have the allocation getting to zero. They will not be able to pay salaries. So it's only the suburban local governments that, because the number of teachers you have there is not as, the quantum is not as much as those of them in the urban local governments. So those people still have money to do 1 or 2 projects. Okay. But those ones, they had zero. So that was where we are coming from. It was that period that we had to start the agitation that there must be local government autonomy. And I must say that over the years, improvements have started coming to local governments in terms of funding. But there are also periods in those processes that when they gave us those funds, when they, for instance, they increased the allocation to local governments from 10% to 15% or thereabout, they also brought down primary health care. And so what they gave to us with one hand, by the right hand, it was collected from the left through the payment of primary school teachers, and then primary health care workers. You know, they earn money and they duly earn it because of the professional hazards that they have. So what they gave to us in terms of increased allocation, improved allocation, they took away with the salaries and emoluments of primary health care workers. So I want to say that if you compare that period, you know, the period we are having zero allocation to now, there have been changes in terms of revenue to local government. But I want to tell you that as we have successive administrations, that is how the policies changed. And you know, for workers to be clamoring for local government autonomy, it means there must be some things that they have seen that is not being done well. Because, for instance, I joined the local government service in 1987. When I joined the service, local governments were awarding contracts, minor contracts. We were doing drainages, we were doing retaining walls, we were building maternity centers, literally hospitals. That was then. You know, we do that contract instead of the situation whereby you see people clamor in the governor's office now. Everybody goes to their respective local governments for those literally 2 minor jobs. But it got to a time that the local governments were even unable. They found it difficult to even pay salaries of workers. So when you don't have money to pay salaries of workers and primary school teachers, when now, how now will you now be able to pay? You now to be able to do developmental projects. So it became increasingly difficult for things to be done at the local government level.
Okay.
So,
permit me to cut into your flow then. From your assertion, therefore, improvements have been witnessed, but then there are also challenges coming as impediments to those improvements. But let's look at it this way. The agitation for autonomy and the way and manner it has gone. You started the agitation as Norway president those days and all of those other things from the benefit of hindsight. Would you say that the actualization of local government autonomy, albeit its non-implementation yet, because that's what many people will tell you, that local government autonomy is not being implemented yet, would you say it's going to be in the advantage of local government if it is fully implemented, vis-a-vis the issue of saying that some local government will not be able to really do any other thing after payment of salaries?
Thank you so much. You see, what happened presently is that the finances, of local governments, just like the state and federal government, had improved tremendously. When an agitation starts, it starts from ground zero. It's going to proceed gradually before you get to a ground whereby you have 60, 70, or 80% compliance with the expectations. You see, at least what we know now is that, because they say that a laborer deserves his wages, what we know right now is that workers are not being owed salaries and allowances, and I must say is a lot of improvement over what used to be. Pensioners too, they say a laborer deserves his wages, and when you rest, you have to collect your allowances, before you now answer the call of God. But I want to say that all those ones now, both primary school teachers, local government workers, primary healthcare workers, and pensioners are paid as at when due. It's an improvement over what it used to be. There was a period in this state where they were paying percentages to workers. We shouldn't forget that one. 30%, 40%. At times a month will elapse, nothing will come from. But now salaries are being paid as and at when due. And I must say that one is an improvement over what it used to be. What remains now?
Before you go to what remains, beyond the payment of salary and pension, you have said that the earnings of government at all levels, and I'm quoting you correctly, are now generally better. But how well does that translate to general development beyond payment of salary and emoluments? Because there are some commentators that will tell you that that's not an achievement. It's just a responsibility that must be done by government. Any reasonable government must pay salary.
I agree with you that for meaningful grassroots development, it translates more than payment of salaries and allowances. Although it's part of staff welfare,
very well.
It translates more than payment of salaries and allowances to workers. There must be improvement generally. For instance, Akure South local government and Oban local government does not need to go cap in hand to the state government to abate whatever nuisance you have within the streets of Akure. There should be meaningful development. There are some roads, there are some bridges, there are some covers, retaining walls that the local government should be able to do. There are some roads that they must be able to do, maybe especially feeder roads. That was the situation then. But what I'm saying, what I observe now is that this system is a gradual process. It's a gradual process from ground zero, where you cannot pay salaries, to a ground where you are paying percentages. Now, issue of salary had become a thing of the past. So what is needed to be done now is a focus. And what I'm thinking is that if we take the admission of this state, for instance, Mr. Governor has just hit the ground running by appointing the commissioners. So it will now be the working hand, working hand in hand between the chairman of local government and the governors to ensure that local governments have substantial funds that they can disburse to do what they are expected, what they are done to, why they are established to function. Local governments are established as a beacon of grassroots development. They are supposed to take the grassroots from the local level to the state level. And you agree with me that if all the local governments in this state develop, then you cannot say Ondo State is not developed. So it has to start from that area. But like I said, the commissioner has just been sworn in. When they come on board, I'm sure that Mr. Governor will put in place the right administrative issues of people, being able to do one thing or the other. And I must say that some of the chairmen have started working. For instance, I'm from Okutupa local government. I know that sometimes last week that the chairman of the local government laid a foundation stone for where it's going to do some poultry, that's agriculture. That is a very good step, you know, in the right direction. So I know, and I'm saying that word because I'm conversant with our local government. I'm sure that some other things will be happening in some other places. There are times in this state where Nagagu was governor of this state, he will save money for 2-3 months or 4 months, and then ask the local governments to bring in projects, and then go ahead to release those money for them to tar roads. There were situations where local governments tarred the road. Even during that Adefarati administration, I recollected that 1 kilometer money was given for us to tar 1 kilometer of roads per local government. You know, money was saved and kept for such purposes. And I must tell you, graders were purchased for all the local governments in this state, and it is part of the money for local government that were used for such things. But most of the time, you know, local governments are underreported. So because of the underreportage, people will not hear what efforts they are making. They are making. Okay. And then the issue of primary health care is also there. You know, primary health care takes a lot of money. Immunization, maintaining cold chain, and all what have you is a thing that contains that takes a lot of money. But unless and until we have a situation whereby maybe the funds, you know, that actually get to local governments are improved upon, and they are able to do 1 or 2 things, then people will not exactly know. Me, I have hope that maybe by the time this administration settles down fully, that there will be a lot of improvement in local government administration. All right,
Nigerians and indeed the people of North can only hope and then see that come to reality. We all hope that will be the experience.
It will come. I'm sure that's going to go, because
I share your optimism. I do share your optimism. Now, let's take a look at something. Many local government administrators will tell you that local government autonomy is the biggest thing that should happen to the local government. Some will tell you that it is indeed impracticable. For you, do you think it's really practicable that local government will be financially autonomous, not just administratively autonomous?
You see, it's a thing, like I continue to say, things happen in a gradual way. It's a gradual process. Okay. For instance, if you are conversant with the news, you know, sometimes this last week you will see a lot of gigantic projects being undertaken by local governments in Lagos State. The reason why they were able to do that was because of the fact that they have access to more revenue than the traditional local governments that are stationed in rural areas across this country. You know, if it is an urban local government, you know, there are local governments.
The case of Lagos is about LCDA and not even a full-fledged local government.
We have full-fledged local government. We have LCDAs. Both of them combined. So, and that's why what really gives me hope is that the president of this country now, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you know, is one of, apart from, you know, if you trace the trajectory of local governments right from 1917 till date, or up till 1976, when General Olusegun Obasanjo did the local government reform, and then they created they recognized local government as a third tier of government. If you look at it, you know what happened then, up to the period that they created local government and said there should be a tier of government, up till now that we are clamoring for autonomy. You know, you will see that you will see that there have been gradual improvements. You know, you may not say that we are there where we want to be, but we are not where we used to be. That is the situation. So, like I said, what will happen is that over some time, you know, this process has been kickstarted by our president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He knows what he's doing, and he knows where he's coming from. And I'm believing that if he practices whatever he's doing now for the next 4 years, by the time he's coming back in the second tenure, there would have been much decentralization of the powers of governance, financially, administratively, and what have you, to the extent that local governments will have a lot of autonomy. But the fact of the matter is that you cannot really not excise local governments from the state. The way the state can claim that they are very independent, that one cannot be applicable to the local governments, because whatever achievement they want to have, for instance, in this state, is going to dovetail from what the administration, we are going to have, you know, so
talking generally, does that mean that local governments can never be out of the pockets of governors?
It is not. That is not true. It's going to be a gradual process. Yeah, it won't.
We agree they are largely in the pockets of governors
in some states, because we know a lot of states.
Well, I didn't carry my diction. I said largely.
The reason why I'm saying that one is that, you know, I'm concentrating on our state or our environment. That's the Southwest region. And I must tell you that all over the world, local governments differ from one place to the other. You have a British model, you have a German model, you have the US model, you have the Brazilian model, you know. So every community has its own peculiarity, and that's what they use to determine how local governments are governed. And like I said, we thank God, for instance, in Ondo State now, we have all the chairmen of local governments coming from the same party with the governor. There will be cases in the future where local government's chairman will not come from the same party with the governor.
Which is held there?
It happened in this state.
Which one is held there?
It happened in this state. Agagu, Okutupa local government used to be in PDP, while the other local governments were in AD. And whether you like it or not, the then chairman of that place did whatever he can. Although there were political issues, you know, the place became a trouble spot. And then we also had Osrc local government that used to be ruled by APP. Then, you know, there are situations that one will happen. But now we have a situation where all the parties belong to all the governments at the local government at the state level are in one party. So
which one is held there? The local government chairman being from the same political party with the executive, that is the governor, and whether maybe the governor is from a different political party from the chairman. Which one is held there?
You see what happened
in democracy?
You know, people that are elected at that level, at the local government level, are determined by the people at that place. You know what I'm talking about is that it is the grassroots people that ideally, normally, should determine that this one is the person who is my chairman.
Is that what still things?
Well, in some cases, you know, different parties have different methods, different ideologies. So it is the ideology of the party at the national or local government level, at the state level, that will dovetail at the local government level. If it is such that, people have said, okay, this is somebody we can trust, go and do this one. That's one system. A system that somebody will just come from nowhere and said, I have the confidence, the competence, I know I can do this one, and people will trust. Look at Lagos State. Even the way Lagos State is, there was still a local government that was won by PDP. There were one councillor, I think so, one ward that was won by PDP. So it shows that individual, and that's what should happen in local governments. We must allow the local government, we must allow the people at the grassroots level to be able to determine who leads them, and they are the people that determine them. The method of doing primaries or what have you, they are the internal affairs of each of the political parties, and what they agree and they say this is the candidate we want, that is better. But what I feel is that if the opportunity arises for the party at the central or the state to be at a low government level, it should bring more development to the local government level. But that one does not preclude the fact that there must also be instances where people may decide that no, we are not following this party, this is what we want to follow. That is what exactly will keep the government in power on its toes.
Because the people are actually the nucleus of democracy. They are the determinants of democracy.
So they will be able to take decision that this is the person we want, and the person will not have a choice than to do well.
Dr. Monet, looking at the current administration at the federal level now, how people oriented are the policies emanating from this administration?
Let me say that first of all, I have to commend the president and commander-in-chief of this country, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Are you by that saying his policies are people-oriented?
No, the reason why I'm commending him is that he doesn't behave like the usual politician.
How do you mean?
The usual politician will be thinking about the next election. But what Asiwaju is doing is that he's thinking about the people. What will happen to our children? What will happen to our grandchildren?
How do you know that? You're not in the cabinet.
No. Look, but I took my first degree in economics, and I know that if you create an economic problem, It doesn't. If you create an economic problem in 1 month, it will take you at least 6 months to be able to go out of it. So these policies that he's doing is not something that will mature today, but over time. Nigerians, we are very impatient. What happens to us is that we are thinking of what will happen. It's not as if things are not hard. Things are very, very hard, I must say it. Things are very, very tough for people. For instance, now I can buy fuel 10,000 naira within Akure in 1 day. It will come back to lead. The cost of living is very high. Those things are very high, but it has been done because the government that we had before was doing things in such a way that they were just printing money. They print money. If there's a problem, they print money and do subsidy. And with subsidy, you cannot know the forces of demand and supply can never be manifest. Forces of demand and supply can never manifest. So, but you will see that even when they had the fact that the prices of goods were very high, these other days, they are coming down marginally or gradually. Okay. So that's why I said that Asiwaju did not behave like the typical politician. The typical politician behaves and loses for what will happen in the next election. But himself is looking at what are the implications of what we are doing now for tomorrow. It will take time. And that's why I say when you see that oppositions are there for them, those oppositions that are come on board, have they what policies are they bringing out? Because there must be alternatives. I believe that there should be opposition, but you must come out with alternative. As far as I'm concerned now, there is no opposition. Opposition in the sense that those opposition who comes together has not provided a viable alternative of what should be done. Let me yes.
As much as I'm concerned, there is no opposition now.
No,
does that mean that the coalition that is coming under the flag of the ADC is not a serious composition?
I will not say that, because nobody should underestimate the enemy. Nobody. This government, even no matter, we know that Asiwaju is a political wizard, but he should not, under any guise, underestimate the power of the enemy. Enemy in quote, that is the opposition. The reason why I'm saying that one is that those of them, you have some people now who are in the bedroom of power with Asiwaju. Look at Adegbeshola, for instance. He was in Asiwaju's bedroom of power, and now he's in the opposition. So you don't know many things that would have happened with Adegbeshola, knowing the full details, and now he's in the opposition. And whatever happens, he wants where he is to win. That is why the opposition should never be underestimated. But what I'm saying is that the condition of the country is so tough now that they say when you have a radical problem, you require a radical solution. Radical solution has to be made to ensure that things go on the way things used to go on. I was telling some people, sometimes we were discussing, I was telling them that when I wanted to go to school, when I was in UI in the early 80s, when I want to go to school, when I get to school, what I do is that I buy my ticket for the semester, for 1 semester. 1 semester at that time is 3 months. So what I do is that I buy, if my father gives me 100 naira to go to school, the moment I get to school, I will buy 90 naira worth of tickets. That 90 naira, taking 011, the way we used to take it, in the morning you just go straight to the cafeteria, you take tea, it's free. You take tea, you go for your lectures. In the afternoon, anything from 12 o'clock, your meal is ready, 50 kobo. In the night, when you, after your lectures, walk to the cafeteria, your meal is ready. So you spend 1 naira in 1 day. So in 90 naira, once my father gives me 100 naira to go to school, I can remove 5 naira that I will use to do transport back. Then the 90 naira I will just use it to buy ticket. I know that for the period. But when you look at what is happening today, we have students in higher institution for cry Allah. If you give them 25,000 naira in 1 week, it's not enough for them. It's not enough. So something has to be done to be able to correct the problems that we had. There's no production. There is nothing.
Dr. Mane, unfortunately, time is not on our side, and I would have loved that we have this conversation longer than this. But before I let you go, in Ondo State, under the Aiyedatiwa administration, there are criticisms, there are commendations for you. On which side of the divide do you fall, looking at the socio-economic indices since it took mantle of power in Ondo State?
Well, I have been, in government or out of government, I have been part of administrations. For instance, when we had zero allocation, like I said, I was a union leader. So the decisions that were taken, I was part of them. When Governor Olusegun Agagu, I was part of the roadmap that I was employed in one of the committees for the roadmap. And when Adefarati was coming on board, I was also part of the committee that is set up, the initial committee. So there's usually a period of gestation, a period that you allow the government to settle down and take decisions. So me, I believe that for the past 6 months or thereabout, that this governor we have been looking at the way he's going to run this administration. And by the time he has now appointed commissioners, what I expect him to do by now is that he should brief them on, although we know that he already has an agenda, our agenda, that's what is put forward. So the stage that we are in now is policy formulations in those ministries, and then policy implementation. So I believe, and let me tell you, Aiyedatiwa is from the south. Those of them from the south usually come out with a government that is okay. Sorry for being biased, but that's what I feel. And I want to say that just give him some time. We have to give Aiyedatiwa some time. I'm sure he will hit the ground running and things will be done well. And if he doesn't do well, I can assure you that the first set of people that will criticize his government will come from the south.
Dr. Tunde Moleri, expert in local government administration in Nigeria. We've been having conversation on that issue, and we've also looked at the national outlook as far as the convention is concerned. Thank you so much for coming to the state.
It's my
I'm
pleasure.
very grateful for having you.
It's my pleasure.
I wish we had a longer time, but then maybe next time we'll be able to create a longer time. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my
We will take a break now, everyone. When we return, we'll be looking at life and times of former President late Muhammadu Buhari, and Mr. Olufemi Ojuweda will be joining us via Zoom all the way from United Kingdom. Please do stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back.
I'm free.
The body of former President Muhammadu Buhari arrived at the Umaru Musa Yar'Adua Airport in Katsina as thousands gathered to receive his remains. The elder statesman died on Sunday, July 13, in a London hospital where he had been receiving medical treatment. President Bola Tinubu, accompanied by presidential delegation and other government officers, arrived at the airport to pay their respects. The body, draped in a Nigerian flag, was received from the aircraft and carefully placed into an ambulance for the final journey to Daura. Surrounded by top military officers and government officials, a formal procession was held in honor of the late leader. Hours later, his remains arrived in Daura, where mourners gathered for Islamic funeral rites and final farewell. At the burial ground within his residence, President Tinubu joined family members and dignitaries at the gravesite, the exact spot where the former president often sat. 21 gunfire salute was done, a mark of honor for the late president and commander-in-chief. With prayers said, the body was lowered gently into the grave, covered with soil and committed to Mother Earth, bringing to an end the life and legacy of Muhammadu Buhari. Buhari served as Nigeria's military ruler from 1983 to 1985 and later as a democratically elected president from 2015 to 2023. Blessing Obe, Osrc News.
Born in Daura, Katsina State on December 17, 1942, Muhammadu Buhari's journey began in northern Nigeria's rural heartland. He joined the Nigerian Army at 19 and quickly rose through the ranks, earning military training in Nigeria, the UK, India, and the United States. Buhari's role in the Nigerian Civil War and his later appointment as Federal Commissioner for Petroleum and Natural Resources marked him as a soldier with strategic depth. In December 31, 1983, Buhari led a military coup that ousted President Shehu Shagari, citing widespread corruption and national decay. His regime, lasting less than 2 years, was known for its tough war against indiscipline and zero tolerance for corruption. That regime was also criticized for human rights abuses and press suppression through various decrees and was subsequently overthrown in 1985. For 2 decades, it remained largely in the background until a new ambition surfaced to lead Nigeria through the ballot box. He contested elections in 2003, 2007, and 2011, losing each time. On the 2015, when history was made, Buhari was an alliance with the incumbent President Bola Tinubu, defeated President Goodluck Jonathan, marking the first time in Nigeria's history that a sitting president would be voted out of office. As President, Buhari focused on 3 core areas: security, anti-corruption, and economic diversification. His administration recorded significant victories against insurgents in the northeast, and he empowered anti-corruption agencies like the EFCC to prosecute high-profile cases. Buhari was re-elected in 2019 for a second term, serving until May 29, 2023, when he handed over to President Bola Tinubu. After stepping down, Buhari returned to Daura, living quietly and avoiding the political fray. President Muhammadu Buhari passed away on July 13, 2025, surrounded by family and close aides. Kunle Ariyo, Osrc News.
very much, everyone, for still being with us on the Outlook State of the State on this channel. Now, time to go into the conversation on the life and times of Muhammadu Buhari. We've been joined via Zoom by Mr. Lufemi David. Thank you so much for joining me on State of the State. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you very much. Now, let's start the conversation this way. I do understand that many are of the view that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did well by saying, of course, a leader that has served Nigeria meritoriously deserves state burial and all of that. I also comment on the state burial given Muhammadu Buhari before we delve into his life and times and idiosyncrasies.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. There is no doubt regarding the honor that has been given to late President Buhari, as a state, apart from being head of state and civilian president, is a statesman, and he deserves all the honor. He has served the country meritoriously. He has done his best, and he has left. So he deserves all the honor given to him by President Tinubu. And I must commend President Tinubu for deeming it fit to bestow the honor upon him. Okay? It should not only be honored when we are alive. People that have contributed to the development of the country ought to be honored, honestly. Yeah. I think the president can still go further by naming institution after him.
Thank you very much. Now let's look at the times that Muhammadu Buhari held sway as leader of Nigeria twice in his lifetime, especially as military administrator and later as a civilian president. If you juxtapose those two periods, which would you say was more beneficial to the Nigerian people?
We came to know Buhari as a disciplinarian under the military, okay? Under the military, you obey the order, is order whether reasonable or otherwise. Order is order, it has to be carried out. Okay? And people might look at him as a successful military leader during those era, but as a civilian, it is not an easy game. You need to balance the equation. There are good ones, there are bad ones, for me personally, I will say he did very well under the military compared to what takes place under the civilian administration, because Buhari is not a politician. Okay, he was adjudged to be an honest man. People kind of personify integrity, but in politics is dirty. It's a dirty game, and sometimes you need to balance the equation. In terms of winning votes, you need to make some compromises. These compromises are not something that naturally something that you want to do, but in terms of politics, if you want to win election, you need to compromise. You need to lower your guard. So as a civilian president, to me, no, but as a military president, he did very well. Because he gave order, and then he introduced a lot of things. I wouldn't know. Maybe you want me to go further.
Do you think that was why the anti-corruption war in the civilian administration of late Buhari was not as effective as people expected?
Oh, definitely. Even if you want to jail someone under civilian, the court is there to tell you no. Even if all the fact points to the fact that this guy is guilty, we know how our judiciary functions. We're not where we used to be. We want to be, but definitely we're not where we used to be. Okay, we're making progress. It's a slow process, but we're going to get there. We can't compare Nigeria to America of 240 or 50 years. Okay, Nigeria is just about 30 years in a civilian administration, so it's going to take process. It's going to take time. But as a military of the state, order is order. There are some people who violated the law. They were executed. People who carry drugs, they were executed. You know what I mean? Because he gave no account to no one. He's only account to himself. His order is based on the whims and caprices. He doesn't have to listen to someone. That was why they were able to introduce a decree 2 and do all kind of things that people deemed, no, this is completely out of order. But to him, he thought he was doing the right thing for the country.
Now, let's look at what lessons the current and contemporary leaders can learn from the life and times of Muhammadu Buhari. And I would like to take this conversation from the standpoint of the war against corruption. These are days that you find people stack up wealth that they would not even need, and so on and so forth. You understand what I'm talking about? What lessons can the contemporary leaders in the Nigerian state take from the life and times of Buhari?
We see Buhari during his lifetime, he appeared to be a very contented man. Okay, he's a man of frugal means. He did not acquire what he did not need. Okay, even the houses that he built, he took loan. The records are there. It's available in public space. Okay, but compared to the gluttony of our politicians, right? I don't know who has caused our politician in Nigeria to take what does not belong to them, and that was where we are at the moment. The level of corruption, even under Buhari, is unbelievable. The corruption is from time immemorial. Honestly, right from the big since our independence, the corruption has graduated from the lower to the highest level. You know, and look, just let me give you an example under Obasanjo, where Atiku was indicted through Aliboti. Can you just imagine a second citizen of the country investigated as far back as in the United States and being indicted? You can imagine. So just bring it down to bring it home. The corruption is widespread now. Okay, it's something we cannot contain. But if we put the necessary instrumentality of the law into place, okay, then maybe gradually. We're not going to get there overnight, honestly, and that's the truth. But we can certainly make progress.
Now, what would you say is going away now from the life and times of Buhari? Let's talk about Nigeria in the next 5 minutes that we have. The current administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu prides itself as progressive, but how progressive are the policies emanating from this administration in your reckoning?
Can I just say we must give kudos to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The policy the president is putting in place ought to have been in place for the past 50 years. Okay? People are just taking the money of this country and spending it on their own personal family. The removal of the fuel subsidy is long overdue. I live in UK. When I was in UK, when I first got to UK over 20 years ago, we buy a liter for about 25p, which is 25 pence. But today it's almost £2. Okay?
We seem to be having.
But there are some other factors.
Please go ahead.
Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you. Please go ahead.
Okay. There are some other factors. There are some other influences of the scam. You can see when it was removed, they are getting some states get triple of what they used to get, and we can see the development all over the places. Things are moving.
Unfortunately, we're having a network challenge, and we're not able to get clear signal anymore from Mr. Olufemi David Ojubede. Well, I wish that we were able to get much more, but that might just be where we were in the conversation today. Perhaps we'll be able to have a better connection. Okay, I think he's back, and perhaps the network would be better now. But let's take a break. When we return, we will continue the conversation for the next few minutes before we close shop. Thank you very much.
The body of former President Muhammadu Buhari arrived at the Umaru Musa Yar'Adua Airport in Katsina as thousands gathered to receive his remains. The elder statesman died on Sunday, July 13, in a London hospital where he had been receiving medical treatment. President Bola Tinubu, accompanied by presidential delegation and other government officers, arrived at the airport to pay their respects. The body, draped in a Nigerian flag, was received from the aircraft and carefully placed into an ambulance for the final journey to Daura. Surrounded by top military officers and government officials, a formal procession was held in honor of the late leader. Hours later, his remains arrived in Daura, where mourners gathered for Islamic funeral rites and final farewell. At the burial ground within his residence, President Tinubu joined family members and dignitaries at the gravesite, the exact spot where the former president often sat.
Welcome back, everyone. We had a challenge with network all along. Now, I think it's better. Mr. Femi Ojubede is still here with me via Zoom. Thank you so much for being here. Now, we were having a conversation on the policies of the present administration. You were trying to recommendation on the administration, but then many people would like to agree with you, while many people also want to disagree with you because of the hardship that Nigerians face economically currently. In fact, many people will think you're saying this because you are outside the shores of this land. What do you say?
I blame them. I think the area I'm going to blame the Tinubu say is not giving information. We can't rely on fuel subsidy where only the elites are taking things home to themselves. Receipt and say I've dropped about 2 trillion of oil on the after delivered and they collect money home without.
Unfortunately, the network is not friendly. We would have liked to have this conversation longer. Perhaps we will find another time to take this conversation further. Mr. Femi Ojubede, thank you very much for your time via Zoom all the way from UK. Unfortunately, the network did not allow me to have so much of you today. We will do this some other time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the Outlook. It's been an engaging engagement. We've talked about the issues of local government administration, issues and challenges with Dr. Tunde Monet. And now we will have a conversation on the life and times of former President late Muhammadu Buhari, life and times and lessons from his stay on earth. This is how far we'll be able to go today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. It returns next week, God willing. I am Sunday Kolawole. Enjoy the rest of the evening.